Hi everyone, this is Cheryl and welcome to my sewing room. I'm going to demonstrate how to make some really easy beginners sewing projects. These are also great starter projects for children to learn how to sew. So I'm going to show you how to make a really simple headband and scrunchie, and then I'm going to show you a couple of extras with a little bit of an added twist to it. So let's get started. The first one I'm going to show you is just a very basic headband. Make sure you select fabric that stretches, that's real important. To cut your fabric for an adult, cut it anywhere from 18 to 20 inches long by 6.5 inches wide. For a child, cut it 17 to 18 inches long. Fold it in half and make sure you use pins to hold your edges together because this is stretchy and it probably will shift as you're stitching. After you've got it all pinned together, then use a very small zigzag stitch and stitch a 1/4 inch seam all along here. Now my fabric is really stretchy, so it's real easy for me to stick my thumb and finger in there at one end and just pull the fabric up over my thumb and finger. Okay, I've gotten down to the end and just grab that end, the raw edge at the end, and pull it through. At one end, turn the edges in about 1/2 inch and place pins around the edges. Now fold your headband so that the center seam is facing up like this. Then fold it in half and insert this end that has the raw edge inside of this. So I'm going to push it in there. And make sure that on the back side it is all, the seams are matching as close as you can get. Once you have it inserted in there like that, then lift the pins and pin all the way through. Okay? Then you're going to stitch right along the edge of the fabric here. And here it is, I finished stitching it. And then the seam here in the middle, on that one side, that's on the inside, it doesn't show. And this is really nice because I've got this little design in the fabric that has little stripes along there. And there you go, there's your headband. For this headband, you're going to need 2 pieces of fabric, same dimensions as the other headband. So for an adult, 18 to 20 inches long, child, 17 to 18 inches, and then the width, 6.5 inches. Take your fabrics, now this one here has the same front and back, fold it in half, stitch a 1/4 inch seam along here, and again use that zigzag stitch. This one has a different side on each side, so it's lighter on the back, so fold the front sides together and do the same thing. Stitch this one 1/4 inch seam. Turn both bands front side out and have the seam again facing up on both sides. Now just set one on top of the other. Fold this one over. Take the other 2 and you're going to bring the seam side together like this. So now you've got something that looks like this. Line up your seams together. All right, and pin these ends together. Now kind of get them a little tidy. And I'm going to be having you stitch these two ends separately because I find it's just easier to control everything. Okay, then go ahead and line up this piece. Stitch across these two ends here and here, and you're only going in about 1/4 of an inch. Now fold it in half, stitch about 1/4 of an inch seam right along here. The seam here goes on the inside and it goes at the back of your head, and then this part here goes in the front, at the top. So isn't that nice? Now I'm going to show you how to make a really simple scrunchie. Get a piece of fabric that is about 6 inches wide by 16 inches long, and then you'll need a hair tie. Now at this next step, I'm going to take you to my sewing machine and show you how to do it. And basically, you're going to stitch and sew this on, this hair twisty tie, all at the same time. At one end only, fold this edge over to the back side 1/4 of an inch and press it with your iron. Pre-folding this is going to save you a lot of trouble later on, so that's why I advise you to do this. Then take your hair tie and you're going to have front side of the fabric facing up. Take the fabric and slip it through like that. Okay, now fold this edge over and bring the edges together. And it's a little difficult to line it up. There we go. Okay, now once you get it lined up, now stitch 1/4 of an inch seam. And so you're going to be just lining a little bit of it up at a time, pulling the one side through that hair twist tie, and then stitch a little more. And just keep doing it until you've got it all done. So you can only line up just a little bit of the fabric at a time. But when this is done, it has a really nice look to it. And once you get a good rhythm going, it goes even faster. And for those of you with two really good hands, it'll go really fast. Unfortunately, my one hand doesn't work so good. So it's taking me just a little bit longer than the average person, but I get it done. So continue doing this until you get all the way to the end. I just want to mention one more thing. You'll notice that this side over here is already ruffling up and gathering up a little bit, and that's how it's supposed to be. I'm almost to the end, so I'm just straightening up this last little bit. And always back stitch at the beginning and end of the seam. So now when you're done, it should look like this. Now all we have to do is turn it front side out, and I'll show you a neat little trick to do that. To turn it front side out, just reach inside with your thumb and finger and begin stuffing the scrunchie inside. Okay, and you're just going to keep going all the way to the end. Just keep stuffing it in there. Fold it over. And begin pulling it through. Okay, so now I've got it turned front side out. To finish up and close the two ends together, I recommend that you pull most of the fabric away from you. So get most of the gathering up over on this side. Now here's the edge that I've already pressed and folded inside 1/4 inch. Take your raw edge and insert it inside, and I recommend you pin it so that it stays there. And make sure it's even all the way across. And I would turn it over to look at the back, because sometimes the back is a little wrinkly, so you want to get it as straight as possible. So once you have it lined up, just one more pin in there. Then you're going to stitch right along this edge right here. To stitch it, I would start from the outside edge, and you're going to stitch towards the little hair tie twisty thing in there, and stitch right along there. And I kind of tug on the little rubber band inside. And you're stitching right up to that band, but don't stitch over the band, okay? And then, of course, I recommend back stitching. And then you're done. Fold it in half. You bring it up here. Fold it in half, and then stitch a 1/4 inch seam all along here. Put a safety pin in at one end, and then bring this safety pin and point it inside. And you're going to push this pin from, let me turn it here, push this pin from one end up here down to the other end. So now just keep pushing and gathering the fabric up and pulling it through like this, okay? And you just keep doing it till you get all the way to the end. And when you get to the end, just keep pulling it through like this. You're going to need about an 8 or 9 inch piece of elastic. Put your safety pin on the end of it and insert it in. And what I like to do so that I don't lose the end, I'll just take a straight pin, pin it temporarily down here so that I don't lose it, okay, and that it slides through on this next part. After you've got it pinned, then begin to push your safety pin all the way down to the end. And you just keep pushing it through, gathering it up. And then pull it out at the other end. Now you need to take this other end, and don't let it snap through. Bring your two ends together. Okay. And then tie these two ends in a knot. If you don't want to tie the ends in a knot, you can stitch them together. So just overlap the ends and do a bunch of back stitches. On one end, pull the raw edges in about a 1/4 inch or so. Take the other end and do just like we did before on the first scrunchie, insert it inside. Once you have it all lined up, then stitch right there to close it up. Once this is completed, just set it aside, and now I'm going to show you how to draw a really quick little easy pattern for the rest of this. Take some paper, this is just 8 by 11.5 inch paper, fold it in half, and from the folded edge, draw a line 2 inches out this way and 9 inches up to the top. So start at the top actually, go 9 inches down and so forth. Then you're going to go down about 1.5 inches to about here and 1/2 inch from here. So go over about 1/2 inch. Go down about 1.5 inches and begin to curve into this outer edge. If you go out beyond it slightly, don't worry about it. And then when you get about 2.5 inches from the bottom, I know it says 2 1/4 there, but 2 1/4, 2 1/2, and then curve down to a very slight point, even if you go below your line there. So that's your pattern. So here's my pattern. Now I want to unfold it. And my fabric here is about 20 inches long. You can have it 5-6 inches wide. So place your pattern up here on the fold line, and you're going to cut around this. Fold it in half, and I recommend that you pin it, and pin it all the way around these edges here. And after pinning, you want to make sure you indicate an opening here in the middle. So finish pinning it all the way around, and then from here, 1/4 inch seam down to this folded edge, and from here, 1/4 inch seam down to this folded edge. I recommend you cut a little bit of this edge off because it'll lay nice and smooth if you do so. I know I tell you sometimes to just do little clips, but this is another way of doing it. When you get towards that opening, I wouldn't cut any of that off because then it's going to be hard to close that edge up. So to help smooth out your edges, you can take a chopstick. This is just another stick that I have that came out of a Pellon bag of polyfill stuffing, and just smooth out your edges. Fold your edges in at the opening, and I like to press mine so that they'll lay nice and flat while I'm stitching, and then stitch real close to the edge right along here. Bring it through your scrunchie, and then just tie one little tie is all you need to do, and there you go. You have a really nice little scrunchie with a little extra trim to it. For more beginners sewing projects, play this video until a green screen appears, and then click on the links. If you like this video, please click on thumbs up, and also click on share to share this video with your friends. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then click on that red button down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Click on that little bell and then enter your email address so that you'll receive future email notifications about my latest video. If you don't seem to be receiving those notifications, go to your cell phone, click on settings, and set notifications in the on position. I'm Cheryl, this is Manny. Thanks again for coming by. See you next time. Happy sewing!